Okay, you're saying 4 and 5. ماشي. What else? Anyone else? Any other issues? Question number 10. Question number 10, the answer is D. Okay. Okay, so I'll take the question 4. We'll start with that. O5 is the other word problem. Any other issues؟ يعني بس 4 و 5 يا جماعة اللي هشرحهم هنا. You're all good with everything else? 8, 11 and 12. Okay. 4 and 5. Here's number 8. One to 7. Okay, give me a second. 11, 12. And Omar, you had no issues في أول 20 دول؟ طيب حلو. The answers يا مهند for 1. استنى. Okay, number 1. Number 1 is B, 2 C, 3 C, 4 D, 5 C, 6 the answer is 50, and 7 the answer is 40. Focus بقى. Okay, question 4 is D, 5 is C, the 6 is 50, and 7 is 40. Let's start with number 4. You're told apparently that M and N are parallel to each other, and then they're asking you what is the value of X. So one of the things about the parallel lines, any two lines عامة, whenever they're parallel and a line crosses them both, this line is called the transversal, and every single angle that was created here between these two is created again here between these two. So as you can tell, the same numbers are equal to each other. يعني this angle is equals to this angle 4 is equals to this 3 is equals to this, and this 2 is equals to this. برضو we can look at it in another way. إنه all acute angles في parallel lines, all acute angles are equal, and all obtuse angles are equal as well. But if you take any obtuse plus any acute in a parallel line, they must be equals to 180. يعني مثلا if you took the angle 1, which is acute, and you took the angle, let's say 2, which is this one, plus بعض, they have to be equals to 180. So this rule can be applied here because apparently X is obtuse, 26 is acute. So if I'd like to find X, I know for a fact that these two plus each other should be 180. So all I can do is 180 minus 26, and that would get me 154 degrees, which is the measure of the angle X, D. Does that make sense? Perfect. If we're talking على number 5, it says John paid a total of $165 for a microscope by making a down payment of $37 plus P monthly payments of $16 each. Which of the following equations represents this situation? So first of all, apparently a down payment is something that you pay once at the very beginning. So 37 is done just once. Plus, so I'll translate that to plus P monthly payments of $16 each. Yani this 16 is multiplied by the P. They're multiplied by each other. P is the number of monthly payment, and apparently each payment is equal to 16. So I can multiply them by each other. That should get me overall the payment that I paid overall for this microscope. When we look at the choices, this is exactly the same as choice C. 16p, which are the monthly payments, and then add to that the down payment that you did at the beginning. This should get me the total payment for the microscope. Does that make sense? I got أيوة yeah, so you got A صح؟ أيوة I got it. بس يعني it's okay, you got the idea, so now this won't happen. I know a mistake like that won't happen again, don't worry. طيب, this one, number 8, this is the table of different information, and then you're asked about what is the probability. Whenever you see the word probability, you'll be thinking right away of the rule that we know about the probability. The rule is wanted over total, because probability, percentages, and fractions, the three of them, the rule of it is wanted over total. So what is the wanted? They need the probability of selecting a student whose vote for a new mascot was for a line. So I'll go for any student who voted for a line. So final mascots, apparently del column of the mascots. The mascot of a line is this one. في كام student عامة picked line? Apparently the total of the students who picked line is 20. So the wanted is 20 over the total. The total is the total number of students available in this school عامة. And apparently the total is this number, اللي هو 80 اللي تحت. That's the total of all students. If you put 20 over 80 on a calculator, it would get you 1 over 4. 1 over 4 is choice C. This is the probability of selecting a student who voted for a line. Does that make sense? What is the equation of the line that passes through this point and is parallel to this graph? This is one of the most important questions. I know it's a very easy one, but it's always repeated or available there. Whenever we see the word parallel, we think of right away equal slopes. So when they tell you that a line is parallel to another line, they're giving you the slope, but in an indirect way. If I told you that your line is parallel to this, then out of this equation, you're just going to use the slope. Apparently the slope of this is 7. So disregard anything else. I only need out of this equation the slope, because I know that my line will have exactly the same slope of 7. Does that make sense, first of all? Because of the word parallel, I realize the slope. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, when we look at the choices, choice A has a slope of 5, so it's definitely not right. Choice B, it has a slope of 7, so that could be right. And C as well has a slope of 7, but D does not. It has a slope of 5, so it doesn't work. So now I'm only selecting between B and C. So what would confirm which equation is the right one? Using the point that the line passes through. Apparently the point that the line passes through is 0 and 5. If it was any point, I would just substitute the x with this and check if the answer came out as 5 or not. So substitute the x here with 0 and check if the answer comes out as 5 or not. So apparently it is equals to 5. So definitely it is B. بس برضو كده من الأول I should have noticed that this x is equals to 0. And whenever x is equals to 0, this y is the y-intercept. So right away, I know for a fact that my line has a y-intercept of 5, and that is the one that has a y-intercept of 5, but that has a one that has a y-intercept of 0. So definitely C is not right and B is right as well. So we either use the point and substitute it to check if the answer came out right, or we should recognize that the x, whenever the x is equals to 0, that they're already برضو giving you the y-intercept, but in an indirect way. So just to wrap up, in this specific question, they gave you the slope and the y-intercept, but both of them in an indirect ways. The slope, the y-intercept, they give you the point that has x equals to 0. The slope, they told you that it's parallel to another line. And that's how we use the slope and the y-intercept to create our new equation that should have the same slope and should have the new y-intercept of 5. Now going to number 12. If the linear function h of 0 is equals to 41, h of 1 is equals to 40, which equation defines h? Because the word linear is mentioned, I should be thinking again about the slope. So whenever you're thinking about the slope, how do we calculate the slope? There are two, it depends on the givens. So if you're given points or graph or a table, you would be calculating the slope using rise over run, which is basically y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But on the other hand, if you're not given those, you could be given an equation. And in an equation, there are two different forms. It's either written as y equals mx plus b. In this case, m is the slope. Or it could be written as ax plus by equals c, where x and y are on the same side of the equation. In this form, the slope is negative the number next to the x over the number next to the y. And the y-intercept is c over b. Again, in this question, you're actually given points, but in an indirect way. Those are actually points. H of 1 equals 40 and H of 0 equals 41. These are points, where this is the x and this is the y. So you're given x 0 and 41, that's the first point, and you're given another point 1 and 40. How can you then now find the slope? Because you're given points, you'll use rise over run, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That would get you the slope as negative 1. Because I know that the slope is negative 1, I'll check to see which one of those has the correct slope. C is incorrect and D is incorrect. Definitely it's either A or B. I'm going to decide which one is the correct based on the points, and I can tell here that this x is equals to 0, so this is the y-intercept. So I can tell that the answer must be A right away. Does that make sense? Perfect. Out of this, you see, isn't h of 0 equals to 41? So that's a point. Yes, that's a point where x is equals to 0 and y is 41. And I already just said in this question here that whenever x is equals to 0, the y is considered the y-intercept. So because here you're given a point where x is equals to 0, the 41 is the y-intercept. Makes sense, صح؟ حاسس إنها منطقية يعني صح؟ Perfect. طيب, if we go to the back to the test, I'd like you to continue up until 27. الباقيين بقى نخلص الموديول ده. Let me know whenever you're done. Try to finish as soon as possible يعني, don't take so much time. في questions I know for a fact you may not know the rules for, and that's absolutely fine. I'd just like you to tell me what you think would make sense in this specific question according to what you know so far. Okay? If any of the questions you may have done it right, but still it took you too much time to actually come up or to start solving, or it took you too much time to come up to the final answer, please highlight those questions and tell me about them, even if you got them right once the time is over. Is this okay? Is it clear? Perfect. طيب let's go ahead and set and start the timer. We'll give you from again question number 13 up until 27, which is the end. I think 10 minutes, no, 15 minutes starting now. Please try to finish before the 15 minutes, and if any of you is done before that, let me know. 15 minutes started now. It says the regular price of a shirt at a store is 11.7. The sale price of the shirt is 80% less than the regular price. I'll stop and ask you here a few questions. When I pay something that's 80% less than the regular price, يعني what is the percentage that I'm going to pay? Anyone? If I took 80% off a price, what's the percentage that I'm going to actually pay? Perfect, 20%. So this is the whole situation. And if they said, no, this the regular price is 11.7 and now there's a sale price that's 80% off, it means you can get already a new price بتاع السيل بكام. So all what you need to do is to do 20%. What's I'm sorry, حبيبي. Again, we'll do 20% times the 11.7 just to know now what is the regular the sale price. So can someone calculate that quickly? And I did not read the rest of the question. These are things that I'm getting because I've read this sentence and I'm doing those things anyway, and that's extremely important. $2.34, that is the actual sale price. That's what I'm going to pay for after the sale. And then the sale price itself is 30% greater than the store's cost for the shirt. يعني ال $2.34 دول themselves are equivalent to 30% more. When I add 30%, then what is the percentage that I'm going to pay? Can someone tell me that? I'm sorry? And I'm going to add 30%. Not just that, no. It's actually هو البرايس دلوقتي حالا of an item is considered 100%. When I add عليه 30%, then the new price after the addition will become 130% of the old price. Does that make sense شوية? Okay, so this means لو أنا ال 2.34 دول themselves are 30% greater. يعني ال 2.34 themselves are equivalent to 130%. I need to know the cost. يعني البرايس قبل ال 30% دي. يعني I need to know the 100% is equivalent to قد إيه. أنا ال cross multiply. I'll do 2.34 multiplied by 100 and then divided by 130. Does this make sense ولا لأ؟ part ده شوية confusing, so please ask if you feel no, this is not very clear. طيب الحتة دي مهمة عشان ال percentages كلها we deal with them the same way. If I'm adding a specific percentage then على حاجة, then if it is already the price of something right now is considered 100%. When I add a percentage, it will become 100 and something percent. يعني مثلا if I decided to add 20% more, then this means the new price is 120% of the old price. If I decided to do a 15% sale, يعني I'll remove 15%, then the price that I'm going to pay is 85% of the old price. So I either add to 100 or subtract from 100. Because I know that this price of 2.34 is the price after the increase of 30%, then I know that the 2.34 is equivalent to 130, and now I need to know the 100% before the 30%. What was the price? And I'll cross multiply. 22. A sample of oak has a density of 807 kilograms per cubic meter. The sample is in the shape of a cube where each edge has a length of 0.9 meters. To the nearest whole number, what is the mass in kilograms of this sample? إيه القصة؟ Apparently في حاجة هنا that has to do with rate اللي هو 807 kilograms per cubic meter. So I can write those here إنه 807 kilograms per 1 cubic meter يعني meter to the power of 3. There is a sample that is in the shape of a cube. So a cube يعني all sides are equal to each other. It's a 3D shape. Each edge has a length of 0.9. Each one of those sides is 0.9. So this is 0.9, this is 0.9, and that one is also 0.9. Does this mean I can get the volume of that shape? Yes, I can. And why did I think of the volume? Because meter cubed is a unit for volume. So if I get the volume of this shape, I can use this volume and put it over here under the meter cubed. And if I cross multiplied, I'll get exactly the kilograms. And that's what we're trying to do. So how do I get the volume of a 3D shape? It's length times width times height. يعني base times أو length times width times height, yes. So it's basically 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9. That is 0.729. This is the volume in meters cubed. I can put that under the 1. I can put here 0.729 and cross multiply 0.729 multiplied by 807 divided by 1 to get the actual kilograms a day. That's 588.3, and because you asked to the nearest whole number, so it would become 588. Does that make sense? Perfect. Let's check what comes next. 23. For x bigger than 0, what does that mean? I want to remind you of that. In any question, whenever they say that something is bigger than 0 or smaller than 0, the only reason why they're saying so is to let you know whether it's positive or negative, but again, in an indirect way. So if I say that x is bigger than 0, it means that x is a positive number. If I say that x is less than 0, it means that x is a negative number. And that's all what you need to know about that using this part. Okay. The function f is defined as follows: f of x equals 201% of x. يعني 201% of يعني times x. And this is the f of x. They're asking you which of the following could describe this function. Is it decreasing? If I'm multiplying by 201%, that's definitely increasing. So it's not decreasing, it's not decreasing, it's either increasing or increasing. Now, is it increasing exponentially or linear? Because I'm multiplying, لما أجي أقول of something يعني times something, because I'm multiplying by the same percentage, that's considered exponential. If I was adding the same number, that would be considered linear. So the answer here is C right away. Any questions? Perfect. Here's this very weird graph, and you're asked, or you're told that this is a rational function defined as an equation in this form. You are asked if g of x is equals to f of x plus 4, which equation could define function g? أولا الجراف المرسوم فوق is the graph of the function f. It's not the function g, it's the function f. And then you are asked to find f of x plus 4. Sorry, you're told that g of x is equals to f of x plus 4. And we said that f of بطيخ, I'm supposed to remove the x and substitute بطيخ. So if I say f of x plus 4, it means I'll go for the function that's called f, remove its x, and substitute x plus 4, which will give me a over x plus 4 plus b. So again, all what I did is I basically removed the x and substituted x plus 4 because that's what f of something means. So far, are we good? Perfect. طيب, if I like to know ايه هما ال A وايه هما ال B, how can I do that? Using the graph, because the graph you can actually use easily to find ايه هما ال A وايه هما ال B. You can pick a point, pick 2 points actually on the XY axis, on the graph itself. For example, I can pick مثلا this point here, pick points that are clear with their x and y coordinates. يعني this point here is clear ان ال x بتاعتها is -6 and the y is -3. Pick another point برضو that's clear. For example, مثلا this point here where the x is -5 very clearly and the y is -6. So I have now 2 points, -6, -3, -5, -6. I'll use those and substitute into the function that's called f of x. مش f of x المفروض تبقى equals a over x plus b. I'll remove مكان ال x هحط -6 ومكان ال y هحط -3. يعني هعمل هنا -3 equals a over -6 plus b. ونفس الكلام برضو لدي للبوينت دي. So هحط مكان ال y -6 equals a over -5 plus b. كده كده لما بلاقي كده دي حاجة fraction sorry fraction yes وتحت I can move it to the other side by multiplication. I'll have -3 times -6 plus b equals a. I can distribute and I'll get 18 minus 3b equals a. I'll move the b and the a to the same side, so it's now 18 equals a plus 3b. ادي أول equation. This one تاني واحدة نفس الكلام. I'll move this to the other side. I'll have -6 bracket -5 plus b equals a. I'll distribute the -6 will get me 30 minus 6b equals a. I'll move this to the other side. 30 is equals to a plus 6b, and here's the second equation. Use this and that with each other and go for the calculator. Mode 5-1. Mode 5-1 will get me ال A بكام will get me ال B بكام. أول ما هعرف ال A وال B بكام, all what you need to do is to substitute them هنا, A and B, and you'll get the equation. Let me go through this again. صح? Mode 5-1, not mode 5-3. Yes يا حبيبي. This one? 201% of something? That's increasing or decreasing? (2.1) of x is linear. Which of the following 2. أيوة بس أنا 201% of something because I'm getting the percentage of something, then it would become because I'm multiplying by x. الx نفسها مش power. it should be linear. right? صح. that makes sense. So عشان بس لا هو يعني انا لخبطت حاجتين because I'm multiplying. هو linear او exponential equations are increasing بان انا بعمل multiply by the same value every time. فعادة it gets to be written in this form اللي هي a times b all to the power of x. ففعلا الحتة اللي we got confused فيها او I got confused فيها انه الاكس المفروض تبقى في الباور عشان I call it exponential. بس طول ما الاكس تحت مش في باور و x actually is to the power of 1 it is considered linear. So في الكيس دي عشان دي 201% من x يعني تعتبر 2.01 times x y equals 2.01 times x it is considered linear. Perfect, thank you. انا بس دي مهمه قوي بالنسبه لي والنبي عشان دي طويله شويتين. ف is there anything you'd like me to repeat في دي؟ طيب I honestly did not get the answer. Let me do it quickly. One, 3, 18, 1, 6, 18. So A is 6, B is 4. So we'll put here instead of the A 6 and instead of the B 4, this will become 6 over x plus 8. 6 over x plus 8 is C. Type which of the following expressions is equivalent to this? We have apparently two fractions that are added to each other. The only way we can add fractions is whenever they have the same denominator. معلش a second. How can I make them have the same denominator? You have to notice if they have something in common, and apparently they do. Because if you took out of this part, of this denominator, if you took y as a common factor, if you took xy as a common factor, the first fraction will remain as it is, x minus 8. The second one, the numerator will remain the same. For the denominator, you'll take x, y as a common factor. You'll be left with x minus 8. So apparently الحتة دي والحتة دي is common between both of them. So how can I make them have the same denominator? If I multiplied only this first fraction by xy up and down, they'll have exactly the same denominator. And that's what you're going to do. So xy times y, that would become xy to the power of 2, plus xy times 12, that's 12xy, plus y times x, which is just xy, y times negative 8, that's negative 8y. All of this is over the new denominator. What is this new denominator? It's actually xy times x, يعني x squared y, xy times negative 8, يعني negative 8xy. Because there are like terms, اللي هما this 12xy and this positive xy, I have to add them. And I'll be here left with 12 plus 1, يعني 13xy minus 8y. And all of that is over x squared y minus 8xy. That's choice C. Does that make sense? Any question? You good? 26, Angel Cruz, Terry Smith, poll results. The table shows the results of a poll. A total of 803 votes selected at random were asked which candidate they would vote for in the upcoming elections. According to the poll, if 6,424 people vote in the election, By how many votes would Angel Cruz be expected to win? So right now, I'll put those as Angel Cruz and Terry Smith over here. And I'll put a new column that says total. Under Angel, I'll put the 483, which is the amount that went for Angel, and under the Terry thing, I'll put the 320. Now, under the total, I do not know how many are there, but I know that in another case, if there was 6,424 votes in total, I'd like to know how much should we expect Angel to have. How many votes would Angel Cruz be expected to win? هياخد كام vote Angel Cruz? So you'll ask yourself, well, can I find type the total? Yes, I can, because I have already Angel and I have Terry. I can just add them up and get the total, which would be 803. صح? Yeah, sorry. I didn't even look at the total خالص. أنا كل ده بعمله بالتable بس يعني. So now if I'm getting Angel, I'll just cross multiply. I'll say 483 multiplied by 6424, and then divide that by the 803. That will get you the correct amount that goes for Angel. I think it's 3,000 something, I'm not sure. Let me calculate. 3,864. لو أنا كنت عايز Terry, I would have cross multiplied بالamount بتاع 320. The graph of this is in the xy plane is a circle. What is the length of the radius of the circle? And that's a very important برضو question. I explained to you this one قبل كده صح ولا لا? Completing the square. Let me give you an example on the side and then go back to this one. If I have, let's say, an equation that goes this way, x minus 3 all to the power of 2 plus y plus 4 all to the power of 2 equals 9. This is definitely the equation of a circle. How did I know that it's a circle? Because x is to the power of 2 and y is to the power of 2. And this is the form of the equation of the circle that we know. We expect it to be written in this form always. Two brackets, one of them have x, one of them have y. Both of them have numbers next to them. And after the equal, there's a number. That number right here is considered the radius, but squared. So if I'd like to find the radius, I'll just do the square root of this number out here. The square root of r squared, that's r. And if I'd like to find the center of the circle, the center is supposed to be this number, but with the opposite sign, that's the x. And this number also with the opposite sign, that's the y. Again, I can say that this is the center and this is the radius only when the equation is written in this form, when there are two brackets with power of 2 and so on. I may at some time, or some questions would have a function that looks like this: x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 6y plus 100 equals 100 plus 20 equals 0. And you will be asked to find the center and the radius as well. Because this is not the same form as that, we can't say that the radius is this number. We can't. We have to put them in that form first. How can we do so? The first thing you do is you move any numbers to the other side. So the 20 will go to the other side. And now I'm left with x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 6y equals negative 20. That's the first step. Second step is you open up two brackets, you set up the template that you want, you set it up in the form that you want, and you leave this negative 20 outside as it is. You put an x, you put an y, and then you wait until to try to figure out what are the numbers that are supposed to be inside those brackets. So how can we figure them out? You take the number next to the x to the power of 1, which is this 4, and you divide it by 2. Always, it's always divided by 2. Whatever comes out, you'll put it here with the same sign as it is. And you'll do the same thing with the y's. you'll take the number next to the y power 1 اللي هو negative 6, and you'll do the negative 6 divided by 2, which is negative 3, and you'll take this number, put it into the bracket with the same sign as it is. Finally, last step is the two numbers that you got, you put them to the power of 2 and add it here to the other side. يعني plus 2 power 2 and plus negative 3 power 2. So finally, you will have x plus 2 all to the power of 2 plus y minus 3 all to the power of 2 equals negative 20 plus 4 plus 9. That's 4 9 13. That's negative 7. خليها تبقى positive وخلاص عشان أنا تطلع مظبوطة يعني. So خليها 20 plus 13 33. So what does that mean? It means that the center is negative 2 and positive 3 with the opposite signs, and the radius is the square root of 33. That's the center, that's the radius of this function in graph in black. Does that make sense? The same concept is applied in this question now, because you have this weird form that doesn't have the brackets. So we're supposed to take the number next to the x and we divide it by 2. So I should have here x plus 1 over 2. And I should take the number next to the y and put it برضه divide by 2. So that would become y plus 1 over 2 to the power of 2. I already have 199 over 2 on the other side. All what I'll need to do is put this one power 2 here, plus the other one برضه power 2, this one power 2 here, which will now leave me with 199 over 2 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 over 4, and you put this on a calculator, it would become 100. So is this the radius? No, the radius is square root this number. So the radius finally is the square root of 100, which is 10. Perfect. Makes sense, everyone? Perfect. Thank you. Sorry that I took longer than expected.